This video is made possible by Napleton Subaru in Schaumburg. If you're looking for a new Subaru product in the Chicagoland area, Napleton Subaru in Schaumburg is the best place to buy. Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zach and today I am driving a 2011 Hyundai Tucson GL. Up front is a 2.0 liter inline 4 and down below is a 5-speed manual transmission. Yes, you heard that correctly. Don't go adjusting your TV sets, ladies and gentlemen. This is a manual Tucson. Now I am super excited to be driving it for obvious reasons. It is manual. I have not driven a Tucson here on the channel before. So a bunch of new things to cover today. But if you would like your vehicle featured here on the channel in its own review, you can head over to my website, zackpradel.com. There's a quick and easy submission form, and you would get a video of your car, just like the one you're watching now, of this manual Tucson. But let's get back to that 2-liter inline 4 under the hood. Well, the GL, first of all, is the base model. You should know that this is not going to have many bells and whistles, and so it gets the base engine as well. It makes 165 horsepower, and it's not impressive in almost any way. 165 horsepower is okay for the caliber of vehicle that this is. I've also driven a manual Mazda CX-5 from the same era, and it was making about the same horsepower, so on par with its competition. But like I said, paired to it is a 5-speed manual. Now, it was only offered on the lowest trim, the GL, so you could only get it in a very basic spec, much like the CX-5 with the CX-5 Sport. But interestingly enough, they offered this transmission up until 2015. When they finally switched over to the new generation of Tucson, they dropped the manual option for the American market, which I find to be incredible. But how does the actual transmission feel? The clutch is very light and the shifter isn't amazing. It's more economy than sporty. I wasn't expecting it to be the coolest, smoothest shift in the world, but it definitely does feel big and chunky. However, it is engaging to drive, and it's far from the worst manual I've ever driven, so I'm actually quite enjoying my experience. It's just weird being high up in a Hyundai and yet also shifting my own gears. I can count on one hand how many manual Hyundais I've driven, and driving a manual Tucson definitely wasn't on my 2023 bingo card, but here we are. Last but not least, because this is the base model, it is front-wheel drive, and of course the manual only came with front-wheel drive. Forward visibility is okay. It does have very thick A-pillars, and the ride is not soft. It's rather harsh, very, very economy ride. I would expect this out of a rental car, and that's how it certainly feels. The steering is fine, no complaints there, but just the rough ride and not so smooth shifter, and this car actually has a brand new transmission put in it from Napleton Subaru. Because third gear was messing up, they actually put a whole new transmission into it, and it still isn't amazing. It's just how the transmission is designed. So with that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have 2 physical gauges and a screen. Off to the left is my tachometer, off to the right is the speedometer, and of course that little screen gives me fuel and coolant temperature. On the steering wheel, I laughably don't have any forward-facing buttons, or rear-facing buttons to be fair, but it reminds me of that Winnie the Pooh sound of, "They took me eyes." But that's okay. Again, remember, this is a GL, this is a base. Off to the left, I have a climate control vent and my gauge dimmer switch, as well as my hill descent control and traction control off. Moving on to the door, I do get power windows, power locks, and power mirrors, the driver's window being an auto window. And then moving into the center, I have this weird hump. I thought it was like a storage container, but it's not. Then I have the CD player and radio, again, a very, very basic radio. I get AM, FM, I do have a CD and aux, which is nice, but that's about it. Then I have a giant hazard switch and the climate controls. Very basic here, fan speed off to the left, temperature off to the right, where to send it in the center. And then I have something, it looks like a block-off panel. It looks like something would be here. But down below, we have 2 12-volt outlets along with an aux and USB input, which is nice that you get 2 of them. Then we come to the shifter itself. The shifter looks very economical. It is very economical. It's not here to win any awards or win over your love. It's just here to do a job, and that's very obvious with the very plain and straightforward shifter. Then we do have cup holders, so we will do a big friggin' bottle test here in the Hyundai Tucson GL, and the front one doesn't fit it, but the rear is a little bit too big. However, it does fit, it doesn't fall over. I'm in a good mood because I'm driving a manual car, so I am going to give the 2011 Hyundai Tucson GL a pass on the big friggin' bottle test. Then we do get a center console, nothing in there, and then we gotta talk about the seats. They are cloth, they are manual, and they're pretty much the bare minimum when it comes to holding a human being inside of a motor vehicle. But speaking of seats, we do have back seats, so let's go do a back seat review. All right, so we're in the back of the 2011 Hyundai Tucson GL, and I'm honestly really impressed with the rear space. Sitting properly, my knees are not even coming close to touching the seats in front of me. Headroom is actually really good. I do get a center console with 2 more cup holders. I don't get any vents or anything on the center console. And here's what the seats look like. Here's a nice panning shot of them. I actually really enjoy the back seat. You know, I said this car rides rough. I said the transmission isn't amazing, but it's cool that it's manual. But it has to be said that this car is a car very, very well. It has plenty of space, keeps me out of the rain, it works, and that's very evident with the back seat here. Is it the most plush Rolls-Royce-esque back seats? No, but that's not what this car was going for. It has plenty of space. If I were to drive people around in this car, they would be spatially very comfortable, which is all I can ask for from a vehicle like this. Speaking of space, however, let's hop in the very back. We'll take a quick look at the trunk and cargo space, and then we'll talk about the looks. All right, around the back of the Hyundai Tucson GL, little button here, no power tailgate, of course, but once we are back here, we get this nice Tucson floor mat. We do get a 12-volt outlet off to the left, some extra little cubby space around here. You can put a privacy cover in if you want, and we can come under here, and this is where our spare tire lives, which is pretty nice. Overall, really, really nice cargo space. Like I said with the back seats, plenty of room. Is it the most luxurious thing on planet Earth? Absolutely not, but it has plenty of space. I would say, if not more than the CX-5 of the same year. So, interesting little tidbit there. Now we gotta talk about the looks. I don't mind the way that this looks. I don't think it's a stellar. I don't think it's a stunner. I don't think it's a particular winner, and it is finished in taupe, which I can't say is a very inspiring color. But again, you have to remember, this is a base model. This was the cheapest, most affordable Tucson you could get back in 2011. So obviously, I'm not expecting a Picasso on the outside. But with all of that being said, let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think driving the Hyundai Tucson GL with a manual? Well, I have to say, overall, the Tucson itself feels very cheap. It was affordable, and it feels affordable. Modern Hyundais actually do a pretty good job of giving you some decent features and feelings at the base level. Back in 2011, that wasn't quite the case. So I am very aware that this is the cheapest one you could get. I'm constantly reminded of that. But I do enjoy the fact, and I appreciate the fact, that Hyundai did a manual transmission, not only in their SUVs, because by 2011, almost no SUVs were manual at all. The CX-5 is the only real one I could think of. The CR-V gave it up in 2005. The RAV4 gave it up way before that. So this being one of the vehicles that stuck with it to the end, I applaud that. I tip my hat to Hyundai and their Tucson development group. And for me, it's just fun to be driving something unique and different. I picked out this car on Subaru's lot to review, honestly, because it was in The Walking Dead. And I always thought it was so funny that in that show, the apocalypse was supposed to have started in the late 2000s, and yet they were driving a crisp, clean Hyundai because of a sponsorship deal that they had. And so I thought, you know, I've never driven one of those on the channel, let me check it out. So I started doing my research, planning this, planning that, whatever. And then I started looking at the dealership photos. And I said, wait a second, that looks like it has a manual transmission. And sure enough, It did. I had no idea this car existed, at least in this spec, and that to me was super exciting. Is it a very pleasurable, amazing, awesome, comforting experience? No. I expect this car to have no smoking stickers on the windows and be my final option when my flight's delayed flying into Dallas-Fort Worth. But this is a dying breed, or really a dead breed. You can't get SUVs here in the States with a manual transmission anymore. They just don't exist. So while I won't particularly miss the driving experience when I hand this back over to Napleton Subaru in Schaumburg, I will miss this category of car. I'll miss the idea of this car. I'll miss the era that this car came from. So I guess I'll soak it in while I still have the opportunity. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to Napleton Subaru in Schaumburg for letting me take out their Hyundai Tucson. This vehicle is for sale right now. Please go check it out. The listing is listed down below. Hopefully it's still available when you are looking to buy it, and you could get your hands on something very, very special. But don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.